Welcome to Weight Loss, the complete mind-body approach, a perfect health program with Deepak Chopra MD. In this course, you will learn an approach to weight loss which is fundamentally different from any other. If you've ever tried to lose weight, no doubt you've tried counting calories, following a strict diet, and curbing your appetite. And no doubt you have found these techniques to be difficult to follow, or worse, ineffective. Unlike other weight loss programs, this course is based on knowledge, recognizing that the more you understand about your body and your health, the more prepared you will be to solve your weight problem. In this course, you will learn that eating is such an important and natural part of your life that straining and forcing will only cause negative side effects and will even further your weight problem. In this course, you will learn a natural approach to weight loss, without any dieting or any attempt to suppress your natural hunger urges. You will actually discover how to enjoy your food more and how to gain more satisfaction from each meal. The dozens of techniques you will learn in this course will put you in tune with your body's needs and help you to correct the imbalances that caused the weight problem in the first place. In other words, you will gain the means to enliven the intelligence already inherent in your mind and body. Instead of negative side effects, you will enjoy positive side benefits, benefits like self-discovery and self-confidence. You will enjoy better health, greater energy and vitality, and a sense of youthful happiness. And when you feel better about yourself, other people will feel better about you too. So, the goal of this course is not just to help you lose weight, but to help you create a more balanced mind and body. Leading you on this path of self-discovery is Dr. Deepak Chopra. For the past decade, Dr. Chopra has successfully combined his impeccable credentials in Western medicine with his exploration of mind-body medicine. By doing so, he has dramatically influenced many in the traditional medical circles and helped to bring the enormous benefits of holistic medicine to the general public's attention. He has authored several best-selling books, including Quantum Healing, Perfect Health, and Ageless Body, Timeless Mind. His many audio and videotapes have also received popular acclaim. He helped introduce Ayurvedic medicine to the Western world and has established health centers for stress management and behavioral medicine in North America. Today, Dr. Chopra lectures around the world. He is often featured in major magazines and newspapers and is a frequent guest on national television and radio shows. Your complete mind-body approach to weight loss includes a workbook which supplements the practical recommendations which Dr. Chopra presents on the audio cassette tapes. The workbook will help you to gain maximum benefit from the course. We recommend that before you listen to each lesson, you read the lesson at a glance for that lesson in your workbook. Then, listen to the lesson easily without referring to the workbook. After the lesson, it will be good to jot down the points from the lesson which seem most important to you. Then, review the workbook material pertaining to the lesson, including any charts or new words introduced in that lesson. Finally, read the recommendations for the lesson, which summarize the most important suggestions made by Dr. Chopra on the tapes. Start incorporating these recommendations into your daily routine one at a time. We suggest that you start first with the ones which seem easiest to you. Keep reading the recommendations each day until you are gradually able to integrate all of them into your daily routine in an easy and comfortable way. Before Dr. Chopra begins Lesson 1, The Quantum Mechanical Body, let's consider the problem of weight loss in America today. In short, Americans are extremely concerned about the problem of overweight. Surveys reveal that during any one-year period, as many as 50% of the American population start a diet for weight reduction, and that 75% of American women think they should lose weight. Approximately 50 million Americans are on a diet at any one time. Americans spend more than $30 billion each year in efforts to control weight or induce weight loss. Despite this great concern with weight, the average weight of Americans is increasing. In the year 1900, approximately 5% of the U.S. population was obese, compared with 20 to 40% today. There is also a growing discrepancy between our image of what a healthy person should look like and what is happening to the typical American. While studies have shown that Americans over the last 20 years increasingly cherish the concept of leaner, thinner bodies, the average woman today weighs 5 to 6 pounds more than 20 years ago. In order to provide us with new and effective solutions to this problem of being overweight, Dr. Chopra begins his discussion by considering these discrepancies and dilemmas that weight loss presents to us.
Where does this discrepancy come from? Why are people gaining weight even to the point where their health is threatened? And why do 98% of all weight loss programs fail? The answers to these questions will become more obvious if we understand more about our bodies and how they function. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to a very unique concept, the concept of the quantum mechanical body-mind. Because I feel that if you really understand the true nature of the body, the true nature of the mind, and see them and perceive them as they really are, the knowledge itself will have a dramatic effect in how your body will begin to function. It turns out that our present concept of the human body is literally based on a superstition. We can call it the superstition of materialism. This means that just because something looks the way it is, that's the way it must be. But we know even from common sense that that's not true. The earth looks flat to us, and we don't believe that anymore. We think the ground we are standing on is stationary, and we know it's spinning at dizzying speeds and hurtling through outer space at thousands of miles an hour. The point I'm trying to make is that we cannot fully trust our senses. And even though our senses tell us that the body is solid, frozen, a frozen anatomical structure fixed in space and time, this is not really the fact. The fact is that our bodies are changing rivers of intelligence, information, and energy, constantly renewing themselves in every second of their existence. Just like you cannot step into the same river twice because there's always new water. The real you, and we'll get into who that real you is as we go through this course, cannot step into the same flesh and bones twice because in every second of your existence, you're actually creating a new body. You change your body more easily, more effortlessly, more spontaneously, more expeditiously than you can change your clothes. In fact, right now, this very second, the body that you're using to listen to this tape is not the same body that you started out with a few minutes ago. In this system that we are going to deal with, and I'm going to tell you more about the system known as Ayurveda, the human body is really seen as a fluctuation of energy and information in a larger field of energy and information. And we focus not so much on the molecules that make up your body, but on the processes that result in the shift and change of those molecules. These processes, of course, most importantly, are eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, and a very fundamental process known as the movement of consciousness, which we'll get into more details of, that in fact results in these other processes that we talked about. Let's just take one example, the act of breathing. With every breath that you inhale, you breathe in 10 to the power of 22 atoms from the universe. It's an astronomical amount of raw material that comes into your body from your environment, ends up as your heart cells and bone cells and kidney cells and liver cells. With each breath that you exhale, you breathe out 10 to the power of 22 atoms that are coming from every little bit of your body. You're literally breathing out bits and pieces of your heart and kidney and so on, and we're technically speaking, we're intimately sharing our organs with each other all the time. In fact, based on mathematical computations from radioactive isotope studies, it can be shown without a shadow of doubt that right now in your physical body, you have 1 million atoms that were once in the body of Christ, or Buddha, or Genghis Khan, or Leonardo da Vinci, or Michelangelo, or Mr. Saddam Hussein. Just in the last 3 weeks, a quadrillion atoms, which is 10 to the power of 15, 10 followed by 15 zeros, a quadrillion atoms have gone through your body that have gone through the body of every other living species on this planet. And in less than 1 year, 98% of all the atoms in your body are replaced completely. You literally make a new liver every 6 weeks, a new skin once a month, a new stomach lining every 5 days, a new skeleton. It seems so hard and solid, this bony structure, but you replace it every 3 months. Even the brain cells that you think with as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, they weren't there 1 year ago. And the DNA, which holds memories of millions of years of evolutionary time, the actual raw material of it, the carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, it comes and goes like migratory birds every 6 weeks. So the fact is that you are literally changing your body as effortlessly as you change your clothes. Therefore, the actual raw material that makes up your body, the atoms that make up your body, literally come and go through your body in the twinkling of an eye. The American poet Walt Whitman said, "Every atom belonging to you as well belongs to me." And this wasn't a metaphorical statement, it was literally the truth. And what are these atoms that make up the body? If we went to a physicist and asked him, what is the essential nature of this basic unit of matter that makes up the flesh and bones of my body? Ask a physicist and he'll tell you an atom is made up of particles. The particles are not really material objects. That's a superstition. The particles are fluctuations of energy and information in a void of energy and information. If you could see the body as it really is, you'd see a huge empty void with a few scattered dots and spots and some random electrical discharges. The essential raw material of the body turns out to be non-material. The essential stuff of the body turns out to be non-stuff. As we will see later, it's not only non-stuff, but it's thinking non-stuff. 99.99999% of the body is mostly empty space. And if you could see and understand the 0.0000001% of which appears as solid matter, it's also empty space. All of it. So the question is, what's the nature of this empty space? Is it an emptiness of nothing or a fullness of some non-material state of information that regulates, constructs, governs, and actually becomes the body? Because the truth is, the body is as void as intergalactic space. Our inner space gives rise not only to our thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires and philosophies and ideologies and beliefs and dogmas. That same inner space is part of a continuum of outer space. And nature goes to the same place to create a galaxy, a rainforest, a human body, as it goes to create a thought. And this is going to be our understanding in this program, where we will see that fluctuations in consciousness that we call thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires actually are a reflection of the underlying intelligence that structures the mind-body system. We should start our investigation and endeavors by understanding the nature of that intelligence and those strategies which will transform that intelligence to a state of perfection in our body. Because the truth is, there's a perfectly thin, perfectly healthy body within you just waiting to be unfolded. This then is the basis of the techniques that we will employ in this program. The understanding that the body's inner intelligence is the ultimate and supreme genius that mirrors the wisdom of the universe. In this course, we will be learning about and utilizing Ayurveda, the oldest of all health sciences, as a means of understanding and enlivening the intelligence and healing power within us, which we call quantum healing. This power is inherent in each and every one of us. We will understand more about the theoretical understanding and practical recommendations which Ayurveda gives to us to create perfect health. As you go through this course, you will understand not only intellectually, but experientially through your own experience, that the body's metabolism, which literally governs how food is consumed and metabolized and converted into energy, is under the profound influence of this intelligence, that our emotions, our feelings, our desires, our thought processes constantly modulate and change our metabolic profile. Certain emotions speed it up. Certain emotions slow it down. Certain emotions cause excessive secretion of acid in the stomach. Certain emotions have an opposite effect. What is going on in that network of intelligence is constantly expressing itself as these various metabolic processes. And one of the first things we would like to do is to begin a process that is known in Ayurveda as self-referral. Self-referral simply means that we refer back to ourself in order to influence our next mode of behavior or action. In our society, self-referral is unfortunately very uncommon. What is seen as object referral, where people follow external cues in order to change their behavior. And what we're going to do, even beginning with the first tape here, is begin the process of self-referral, where we begin through the act of attention to follow internal cues. Internal cues are messages of comfort and discomfort that are structured in our physiology in order to allow us to be perfectly healthy. The universe in its infinite wisdom, nature in its infinite wisdom, has really given us only two messages. One's a sense of comfort, the other's a sense of discomfort. The sense of comfort could be physical or emotional or psychological, and so could the sense of discomfort be physical, emotional, or psychological. When you're feeling perfectly comfortable, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and your actions are such and your behaviors are such that they maximize the experience of comfort and minimize the experience of discomfort in your physical body, in your emotional state, in your body-mind as we call it, then you're doing the right thing. This doing the right thing we also call spontaneous right action, which means that the perfect response is built into your body-mind for every situation as it occurs. The absolute perfect response to every single situation as it occurs is built into your body-mind. Such is the wisdom of nature, which has structured not only your physical body, but this entire universe. And in order to tap into this inner intelligence, we want just to use the process of attention. We'll learn more about this as we go through this course. But for the time being, let's start out with a specific assignment. I want to give you an assignment which will actually help to begin to enliven the inner intelligence of your body. This assignment will help you to identify and know more about your appetite and eating habits. The assignment is actually quite simple. It can be summed up in just one sentence. Eat whenever you are hungry, but when you're not hungry, don't eat. Of course, this sounds very simple, But actually, most people eat not because of appetite, but out of habit and because of behavioral and environmental influences. Basically what I said before, external cues. They look for external cues in order to influence their behavior, whether it's eating or sleeping or working. Everything is based on external cues. We're going to change that. So I want to give you a little exercise which you'll be doing for several weeks, which will help you to become aware of your actual hunger level and the appropriate way to satisfy that hunger. Remember, hunger is simply a signal from your body's intelligence that it wishes to eat and that it is prepared for the proper metabolism of food which is to be taken. If hunger is not present, then nutrition is not required at that time and the body is not prepared to metabolize it. In your printed materials, you will find a visual aid called a satisfaction meter. This will help you understand more about eating in accord with your hunger. Although the satisfaction meter looks like a fuel gauge, there is one great distinction between a fuel gauge and your body. In a car, we feel a sense of satisfaction when the tank is full. But in our bodies, the stomach requires some room to allow the digestive process to take place properly. If there is no room left in the stomach, this produces discomfort, distension, heaviness, and improper digestion. This represents a deviation from nature and will produce symptoms of discomfort and will ultimately lead to obesity. It also produces metabolic toxins for the physiology. So Ayurveda says that we should eat to about 3/4 of our stomach's capacity, but not beyond that. This is the definition of level 6 on your satisfaction meter. At level 6, we are at the point of maximum comfort. We are neither hungry, nor do we feel any need to eat anything further. If we eat beyond level 6, there will be a certain level of discomfort, either immediately upon eating or within the hour or two following the meal. So we always stop at level 6. With a little practice, you will be able to identify accurately at what level you are at any one moment. Let me give you a description of some of the other levels. Level 0 to 1. As we are digesting our food, there is a point at which we feel no remnant of food in the stomach from our previous meal. As far as we can tell, our stomach is completely empty. At the level 0 to 1, there is also a sensation of hunger. It is at this level that we should always take our food. We are not starving, but there is a definite sensation of hunger associated with the 0 to 1 level. This is a physical sensation that is actually experienced in the area of your stomach. Levels 2, 3, and 4. This range describes how we feel as we are comfortably continuing to eat, or later after we've eaten as the food is being comfortably digested. If you think about it, you can definitely still detect the presence of food in your stomach, and there is no sensation of hunger associated with these levels. Level 5, we start to feel satisfied. Level 6, once again, the point of maximum comfort. This is where we stop eating. Level 7 and 8, the stomach is completely full, uncomfortably full. We should avoid this level altogether. Level F, we can't eat another bite. Even the thought of food makes us feel sick. This is like the sensation some people may have experienced on Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve or other holidays when we overeat. We feel distended and uncomfortable. Level F, of course, should be altogether avoided. Level E is uncomfortably empty, the sensation of starving. This is as much a deviation from the self-referral path of comfort as is being overly full. We should eat before we get to this level. Now, for the next few weeks, what I'd like you to do is that before you are ready to take a meal, place your hand over your stomach. You're not trying to feel your stomach, but simply putting your hand there helps your awareness to go to that area. This is what we call the value of attention, so that you can determine your level. Try to determine what level you're at. If you're not yet at a level 0 to 1, then you should wait. If you are at this level, then go ahead and eat. With a little practice, you will always know what level you're at. Once you start to eat, try to always stop at the level 6. You will know this level with a little practice by stopping at the point when you first feel satisfied but don't yet feel any feelings of distension, heaviness, sleeping, dullness, and so on. If you feel some of these symptoms after eating, probably you went beyond level 6 at that particular meal, and you can adjust the next time. Remember, there is no need for guilt. If you make a mistake, it is just part of the learning process. Next time, you will definitely do it right. For the next 2 weeks, I would like you to eat only if you are in the 0 to 1 range. For some people, you might find that this makes you eat at some unusual times of the day. This is only because your biological rhythms are getting readjusted. They've been out of synchrony with nature's rhythms. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you will eat very little, even for 24 hours or more. If it happens, it should not happen because you're trying to diet, not because you're straining, but simply because you're not hungry. If you're hungry, you're at a level 0 or 1, then go ahead and eat. Don't try to resist. For 2 weeks, we will do this as an exercise, and then we will learn in future lessons of the course what to do after that. But ending our meal at the level 6, this is something we want to get into the habit of doing for the rest of our life. No dieting is necessary. Simply paying attention to the level of maximum comfort. Diet means strain and effort. This is simply an exercise of ensuring no discomfort. In the next lesson, we will go into details of how different people respond differently to food. In fact, we will learn not only how people respond differently to food, but differently to every situation and circumstance. Why some people, all they have to do is look at food and seem to gain weight. Other people can eat anything they want, never seem to gain weight. Why 3 people, if they get stuck in a traffic jam, respond so differently. One listens to Mozart, another gets angry and impatient, a third gets nervous and anxious. We will see why in every situation, in every circumstance, when we are reacting, doesn't matter what it is to, we will see how and why our reactions to situations, circumstances, people, objects, and even food are unique phenomena, unique to us as unique individuals. Because every time we are reacting to something, whether it's food or the weather or a love note or criticism from our boss, we are reacting to a unique signal that is generated within our own selves.
This is the end of Lesson 1. Please review the recommendations in the workbook before continuing with Lesson 2. Lesson 2. Discovering your Ayurvedic body type. In this lesson, you will learn about the psychological and physiological characteristics that make you unique. You'll fill out a questionnaire to determine your own Ayurvedic mind-body type. Knowing your body type will help you to get in touch with your body's own inner intelligence, so you can be more responsive to your body's individual needs. This, in turn, will help you individualize your weight loss program to speed up your results and improve your health in general.
In order to effortlessly accomplish the goal of losing weight and gaining better health, What we want to do is reawaken your body's inner intelligence. In order to fulfill that purpose, we must know more about how our bodies function. Our source of knowledge for this course comes from Ayurveda, the oldest tradition of knowledge having to do with health. In recent decades, Ayurveda has undergone a remarkable resurgence. Let's start with what Ayurveda says about the difference amongst all of us and how these differences impact on our health and disease. In conventional medicine, we pay much more attention to differences among diseases than among people. But Ayurveda recognizes that the differences amongst all of us are very important to understanding both health and disease. Have you noticed on a cool day how some people will be dressed in hats, scarves, and gloves, anticipating winter, while others are wearing short-sleeve shirts, seeming to think that it's still summer, or that some people, after a typical lunch of a sandwich and French fries, are comfortably working at their office, while the food is tossing nervously in the stomach of others? There are different shapes, sizes, personalities, and physiological characteristics that go to define our own biochemical individuality that Ayurveda describes as our body type. In fact, we just don't have simply biochemical individuality. We have morphological individuality, psychological individuality, emotional individuality, and all these are intimately interconnected with each other. Our biochemical individuality ultimately is a result of very unique patterns of intelligence that structure what Ayurveda calls our psychophysiological body type. The Ayurvedic word for body type is Prakriti, the Sanskrit term which literally means nature. The Ayurvedic body type is like a blueprint outlining the innate tendencies that have been built into our system. Learning about your Ayurvedic body type will give you useful information of how to reawaken your body's inner intelligence. To understand more about the origin of the differences between different people, Ayurveda looks to the junction point between mind and body. Clearly, the two meet. Every time there's an event in the mind, there's a corresponding event in the body. At this junction point, Ayurveda defines three operating principles or governing agents. These three operating abstract principles are known as the three doshas. The doshas are quantum mechanical mind-body principles which govern the flow of intelligence throughout the physiology. There are three doshas, and it's worth your learning the name of each. Vata dosha controls movement, that abstract principle in the body that controls all movement. Any movement, the movement of the vocal cords as I speak, the movement of thought, the movement of hands as I gesticulate, bowel movements, the movement of the heart, the movement of blood through circulation. Anything that can be thought of as movement is controlled by this abstract principle known as Vata. Pitta controls metabolism and digestion. Metabolism that is occurring in enzymes, in the liver, in all the tissues and organs of the body, the digestive processes in the stomach, these are all controlled by Pitta. Kapha dosha controls structure. It gives solidity and shape and texture to the physiology. Every cell in your body has to contain all three of these principles to remain alive. Your body must have vata or motion to breathe, circulate the blood, pass food through the digestive tract, send nerve impulses to and from the brain, and so on. It has to have pitta or metabolism to process food, air, and water through the entire system and to allow for proper intellectual functioning. It has to have kapha or structure to hold the cells together, and to form muscles, fat, bones, and sinew. Nature needs all three to build and sustain your body. But each of us is constituted differently in terms of the amount of each dosha which we naturally contain. If we say you are a Vata type, we mean that Vata characteristics are more prominent in you. Likewise, if we say you are a Pitta type or Kapha type, it means that dosha is naturally more predominant in you. By knowing your body type, you can focus your diet, exercise, and daily routine to make these programs more precisely suited to your physiology and help you establish and maintain the ideal weight and promote perfect health. Even though there are three basic body types, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, as a result of various permutations and combinations of these different body types, we end up with 10 different constitutional types. It may be that you are a pure Vata or a pure Pitta or a pure Kapha, but you could also be a combination, such as a Vata Pitta or a Pitta Kapha or Vata Pitta Kapha. At the end of this lesson, you will be answering a questionnaire which will help you more precisely pin down your body type. In the meanwhile, let's discuss the characteristics of each body type. Characteristics of Vata type. Vata type people have light, thin build. They perform activity quickly. Movement characterizes their actions. They may have irregular hunger and digestion. Their sleep may be light and interrupted. When they are under stress, they easily get insomnia. Usually, Vata type people are enthusiastic, vivacious, imaginative. They have excitability, their moods can change. Under stress, those same characteristics of enthusiasm, vivaciousness, imagination, and excitability can turn into anxiety and worry and insomnia. Vata type people are quick to grasp new information, but also quick to forget. They have a tendency for constipation and worry under stress. They tire easily and tend to overexert, and their mental and physical energy may come in bursts. The basic theme of the Vata type is changeable, characterized by movement. Vata people are unpredictable and much less stereotyped than either Pittas or Kaphas. But their variability in size, shape, mood, and action is also their trademark. For a Vata person, mental and physical energy comes in bursts without steadiness. So it is very Vata to be hungry at any time of the day or night, to love excitement and constant change, to go to sleep at different times every night, to skip meals, and keep irregular habits in general. Vata people digest food well one day, maybe poorly the next day. They display bursts of emotion that are short-lived and quickly forgotten. And as you watch them, they move quickly. Characteristics of the Pitta type. Pitta people are of medium build. They have medium strength and endurance. Their hunger is sharp and their thirst is also very sharp. They have strong digestion. They have a tendency towards anger, irritability when they're under stress. When you look at them, they are fair, they have ruddy skin, often freckled. They may have a strong aversion to sun and hot weather. They are enterprising characters. They like challenges. They have sharp intellect and very precise, articulate speech. But they cannot skip meals because they have a strong digestive fire. They may have blonde, light brown, or red hair with reddish undertones. The theme of the Pitta type is intense. Anyone with bright red hair and a florid face contains a good deal of Pitta, as does anyone who is ambitious, sharp-witted, outspoken, bold, argumentative, or jealous. The combative side of Pitta is a natural tendency, but it does not have to be expressed. When in balance, Pittas are warm and ardent in their emotions, they are loving and they are content. A face glowing with happiness is very Pitta. It is also very Pitta to feel ravenously hungry if dinner is half an hour late, to live by the watch, generally an expensive one, and resent having your time wasted. It is Pitta to wake up at night feeling hot and thirsty, to take command of a situation or feel that you should. Pitta people learn from experience that others find them too demanding, maybe sometimes too sarcastic or critical. Pitta people have a determined stride when they walk. Characteristics of Kapha type. Kapha type people are solid. They have powerful build. They have great physical endurance and strength. They have steady energy. They are slow and graceful in action. They tend to be tranquil, relaxed personalities, don't easily get angry. If you examine them, their skin is cool, smooth, usually thick or pale, quite often oily. They are slow to grasp new information, but they have excellent retentive memory. Their sleep is heavy and prolonged. They are the ones who tend to obesity more frequently than the other body types. Their digestion is slow, their hunger is mild, and usually they are affectionate, tolerant, and forgiving. However, under stress, they tend to become possessive and complacent. The basic theme of the Kapha type is relaxed. Kapha dosha, the structural principle in the body, brings stability and steadiness. It provides reserves of physical strength and stamina that have been built into the sturdy, heavy frames of typical Kapha people. Kaphas are considered fortunate in Ayurveda because, as a rule, they enjoy sound health. Moreover, their personalities express a serene, happy, tranquil view of the world. It is very Kapha, for example, to mull things over for a long time before making a decision, to wake up slowly, lie in bed a long time, perhaps need coffee once you're up. Kapha people are happy with the status quo and preserve it by conciliating others. They respect other people's feelings, with which they feel genuine empathy. They seek emotional comfort sometimes from eating, and this can be a problem. They have graceful movements, liquid eyes, a gliding walk. Sometimes, even though they are overweight, their walk is very gliding and sinuous and attractive. Since you now have some idea of the three basic body types, it may be obvious to you that Kapha is the main dosha involved with obesity. At the end of this lesson, you will be doing the body type questionnaire that will help you determine your body type. But let us begin to understand the whole process by which obesity occurs. Problems arise when the natural balance of doshas is disturbed. In the case of obesity, all three doshas may be disturbed. Because Kapha governs the structure of the physiology, obesity will always involve a Kapha imbalance. But it is not uncommon for an imbalance in Vata or Pitta to be a precipitating event for the ultimate Kapha imbalance associated with obesity. An example of this would be nervous or compulsive eating. Anxiety and nervousness are usually related to a Vata disturbance, but that disturbance, because of the compulsive overeating, will ultimately also have an effect on the structure or Kapha element of the physiology. For this reason, you may find that obesity can result from an imbalance in any of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Irrespective of what dosha is dominant in your physiology, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, you may be prone to obesity. Even a Vata type may end up being overweight because of imbalance. So this program is aimed not only at re-establishing balance of Kapha dosha, but also of Vata and Pitta. At this point, I would like to suggest that as soon as you finish this lesson, you answer the questionnaire that accompanies the written material of this course and determine your body type. Determining your body type will allow you to get in touch with your own inner intelligence. It will allow you to respond more precisely to the signals that your own self is sending to your own self. Getting in touch with our body type and knowing ourselves is the step we must now take in order to begin to tune in not only with ourselves, but with our environment and the universe, which, as you will find out, is nothing other than a projection of ourselves.
This is the end of Lesson 2. Please review all the recommendations made so far before continuing with Lesson 3. Lesson 3. Creating a perfectly balanced physiology. In this lesson, you will learn that to deal with a weight problem, it is not sufficient to focus only on weight, because being overweight represents a general imbalance in the physiology. You will discover how to bring your individual biological rhythms into attunement with the rhythms of nature. You will also learn that the time of day that you eat your meals can be as important as the foods that you take at that meal. And you will learn important practical points to add to your daily routine, which will help you balance your entire system, structuring ideal health as well as ideal weight.
One of the key points that we should understand is that a weight problem is not just a problem that deals with weight. Overweight represents an overall imbalance in the physiology. If we focus merely on the loss of weight and measure our success in these terms only, our success will always be limited because we haven't dealt with the underlying imbalance. In other words, losing weight will never create a state of perfect balance for the physiology, but creating perfect balance will always result in a spontaneous outcome, which is that our weight will go to the level that is normal for us. In the last lesson, we learned about different constitutional types. It is important to point out that each of us is a different body type, and the size, shape, and weight, which is most natural for us, may be different than what we see on television or what our preconceived notion may be. These self-images, these preconceived notions of how we should look and what our ideal weight should be, created by Madison Avenue and the advertising industry, can be quite false. And when we start following external cues again, that can only result in a state of more imbalance. Creating great strain in the physiology to become excessively thin may be as damaging as being overweight. When we desire to lose weight, the real thing we are desiring is to be more beautiful, to be more attractive, more lively, more energetic. When people perceive beauty in another, it cannot be measured in ounces or pounds. There is something else that we see which gives us the sense of beauty. Ayurveda says, outer beauty depends on inner beauty. And inner beauty is a spontaneous and effortless result of perfect balance of mind and body. Weight is only one element that constitutes that factor of beauty. Creating balance simply means reconnecting our physiology with the intelligence of nature already within us. It means simply removing any obstacles to the full expression of that intelligence. To put it in Ayurvedic terminology, it means balancing the three doshas so that the flow of intelligence is perfect in our physiology. Michelangelo's genius as a sculptor lay in his ability to see a finished statue inside a rough block of marble. His challenge was not to make a sculpture, but to release the one that was already there, imprisoned in the stone. Essentially, that is what you do when you bring yourself back into balance. You're not creating a new you, a thinner you. You are simply releasing a hidden you. The process is one of self-discovery. The hidden you that wants to emerge is in perfect balance already. Finding it is not a rote affair. Every person achieves balance in his or her own personal way. Like hunger and thirst, the instinct for balance is built into our very physiology. In Ayurveda, we try to bring people back into balance and at the same time let their true nature shine through as the perfection of health. Let's understand a little bit more about the way the body maintains its own healing functions. Every function in the body has a home base it wants to return to, just as a thermostat has its fixed set point. You can raise it by running half a mile or sitting inside a sauna, but after you stop, your temperature will return to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This is home base for your body's thermostat, established by normal laws over the course of evolution. These laws are flexible, so you can temporarily depart from the normal setting of 98.6, but if you depart too far or too long, there will be unpleasant repercussions. One of the main reasons why human physiology is so complex is that hundreds of thermostats have been installed inside us, each obeying its own special set of natural laws. We have not just one single balance point, but many. The coordination of all these balance points is quite miraculous. You would think that the bloodstream, for example, would be a stew of biochemicals, considering the bewildering number of hormones, nutrients, and diverse messenger molecules that flow through it. In fact, the bloodstream is so exactly balanced that all these molecules go to where they are needed with exquisitely precise timing and in exact measure. Similarly, the brain is capable of keeping track of all of our overlapping thermostats without confusion. One tiny portion of gray matter in the forebrain, called the hypothalamus, weighing roughly 1/6 of an ounce, is responsible for balancing an amazing number of diverse functions, including fat and carbohydrate metabolism, sleeping and waking, appetite, thirst, digestive secretions, levels of fluids, growth, body temperature, in short, everything that goes on automatically inside the body, and specifically all of the factors that go into determining what your weight will be. Whatever you do not have to think about is being looked after by your hypothalamus, sometimes called the brain's brain. What this shows is that balance is a function of intelligence. We are not really a collection of thermostats, because a thermostat cannot set itself. We can. The original setting you were born with is your prakriti, your body type. At birth, this set point determines the ideal balance for the three doshas during the person's whole lifetime. All of the hundreds of thermostats in the body obey this master setting, just as they obey your hypothalamus. But you can talk to your doshas much more easily than you can talk to your hypothalamus. Vata predictably goes up when any aggravating influence, such as cold weather, dry moving air, fear, the taste of spicy food, staying up too late at night, all these factors will aggravate Vata. These influences are the words that say more Vata to the body. Pitta and Kapha have their own catalysts. Imbalances that accumulate over time deviate us from our own prakriti, from our own nature. They are called vikriti in Ayurveda, a word which means deviating from nature. The two terms, prakriti and vikriti, are thus opposites, one referring to what is natural for a person, the other to what is not. Wrong food, bad sleeping habits, negative emotions, and physical or mental strain all make life a little bit more unnatural, and eventually you find yourself with symptoms, diseases, aches and pains, and problems such as being overweight. At the same time, your self-image will also change. In place of positive reactions, you will start to display more negative ones. Vikriti makes you more sensitive to stresses of all kinds. It tarnishes the finer emotions. But Vikriti, or imbalance, is really a mask, an illusion built out of stress. Underneath is that original ideal setting, the unique combination of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, that is the real you. If it can be recovered, overweight and any other problems will suddenly disappear. The beauty of Ayurveda is that it makes people healthy by returning them to their best selves. As we learned in the last lesson, the most common imbalance associated with obesity is an imbalance of Kapha. Regardless of the body type, when there is an imbalance of Kapha, then the tendency of becoming overweight will be more common. In your written materials is a list of some other common symptoms for Kapha imbalance as well as for Vata and Pitta imbalances. Throughout this course, we will learn numerous strategies for recreating balance in our physiology. We will focus on balancing all three doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, but will give special attention to techniques for reducing and balancing Kapha dosha. These techniques will not only help with losing weight, but will help to create in you more energy, vitality, and bliss. In this lesson, the area which we want to look at most carefully in terms of creating balance is the area of our daily routine. Every day the sun rises, the sun sets, and hundreds of different things happen in between. Nature is so beautifully arranged that no matter how different these things are, they can fit into one rhythm. Actually, there are rhythms nestled inside one another, wheels within wheels. Modern medicine has disclosed many of the obvious cycles in our bodies. The heart beating every 3/4 of a second, the lungs swelling to inhale air 10 to 14 times a minute. But many of the body's changes remain quite mysterious. Why does a person typically weigh the most at 7 in the evening, as science has discovered? Why are our hands hottest at 2 in the morning? Ayurveda's answer is that there are master cycles in us governed by the quantum mechanical body. Every day we pass through various cycles. We feel the influence of these cycles in terms of Kapha, Pitta and Vata. 3 phases of cycles take place from sunrise to sunset, then repeating themselves again from sunset to sunrise. The approximate times are as follows: 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and also 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. An influence of Kapha is more predominant in the environment. 10 to 2 a.m. or p.m. an influence of Pitta is more predominant. 2 to 6 a.m. or p.m. an influence of Vata is most predominant. One of the most basic aspects of living in tune with nature is to respect these master cycles that support our physical existence. We are meant to ride nature's waves, not to fight against them. In fact, our bodies are already riding them or doing the best they can in the face of our contrary habits. We can see the obvious influence of these periods if we simply look. In the late evening after work, as the sun is setting, it seems as if all of nature is settling down. Everyone feels comfortable, sitting back and relaxing. The birds are going to sleep. There is a sense of heaviness. By the end of Kapha cycle at 10 p.m., some people may notice that they are ready for sleep. Likewise, if we examine the main Pitta period of the day, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we'll find it's the time of the day when we feel like being physically active, and also the time of day when appetite is greater. This is because Pitta is responsible for metabolizing food, for distributing energy, and for more efficient physical functioning in general. Everything in the body has a correspondence in nature. And this is true of Pitta. Pitta in the body corresponds to the influence of the sun in nature. So when the sun is at its peak around noon, the body is most prepared to digest. This is why in most cultures in the world, lunch has always been the main meal of the day. It is actually only since nations have become industrialized and people have begun to build their basic biological routines around their work rather than the other way around that people have begun taking heavy dinners. You could think of the sun as a kind of a support of the physical function of digestion. When the sun is high in the sky, there will be more support for the digestive processes in the body because there's a parallel influence in the physiology, which we call Pitta. Likewise, when the sun is rising in the morning and setting in the evening, digestive capacity is less because there is less support from the environment for the Pitta in the body. So an extremely important Ayurvedic recommendation is to take your heaviest meal at lunchtime and make that meal at approximately the same time each day in the middle of the Pitta period. This would be about 12 or 12:30 p.m. By taking your lunch at this time of day, you can digest even a large quantity of food and assimilate it properly. This will give maximum energy and also will avoid the need to take a large meal at bedtime, which would be more difficult to digest, because digestion is less keen in the evening. This one very simple change will actually make a profound difference in your metabolism. Because digestion is stronger at this time, it will be more efficient in converting the food into energy instead of into fat. This is what we want to accomplish, to make the maximum use of our metabolism. When we eat, it should produce energy, vitality, and bliss, not produce fat and impurities, which are stored in the physiology and difficult to get rid of. If you work, I understand that this recommendation may not be as easy or convenient to follow. Yet thousands of others have found that utilizing their creativity to ensure a proper lunch each day has made an immense difference in the speed of their progress towards re-enlivening the inner intelligence contained within all of us. At lunch each day, you should focus not on calories, not on quantity, but on the quality of the food. It should be wholesome, nutritious, and delicious. The food should be freshly cooked, balanced, and taken according to all the principles you will learn in the coming tapes. Also, remember to stop eating when you reach the level 6. After 14 days, everyone should switch to taking lunch each day on a regular basis. In the first lesson, we asked you that you eat only when you reach the level 0 to 1. That instruction is to be followed for the first 2 weeks of your Ayurvedic weight loss program. This will assist the body in eliminating impurities and making you aware of your hunger and eating patterns. But after the first 2 weeks, I would like you to switch over to a pattern of taking lunch regularly every day and making this the heaviest meal of the day. By following all of the instructions contained in this course, you will find that you automatically feel hungry at about the same time each day, which should be approximately 12 to 12:30 p.m. Make this your regular routine. What about breakfast and dinner? Let's deal with breakfast first. For most people listening to this course, the best routine will be to take little or no breakfast at all. According to Ayurveda, breakfast is an optional meal and does not need to be taken. However, the most important principle is that you do not produce discomfort in your physiology. Those who have strong appetites, especially those who have Pitta constitutions, may require a light breakfast in order to be comfortable all the way until lunchtime. Some examples of a light breakfast would be a little bit of milk and cereal or tea and toast. If you are currently in the habit of eating a heavy breakfast, however, switch to a light breakfast, and that should give you more appetite at lunchtime. You'll find You will feel more alert, more energetic, and comfortable all day as a result. Next, we should consider dinner. Dinner should be lighter than lunch, but in general should be taken on a daily basis. In general, by taking a really balanced solid lunch, you won't be as hungry at dinner. What constitutes a light dinner? Of course, it's going to vary from individual to individual according to your appetite level. The word light refers to two things. The foods which are taken should not be inherently heavy, such as meats, and the quantity which is taken should be less than at lunch. Some examples of dinners which you may find very satisfying, even to your surprise, may be hot soup and bread, hot cereals, vegetables and grains, casseroles, and so on. Meats, especially red meats, will be better taken at lunch meal than at the dinner meal. This point about eating the heaviest meal at lunch is the most important point which we wish to derive from the Ayurvedic daily routine in dealing with problems involving weight loss. However, there are some other points from the Ayurvedic daily routine which are worth emphasizing. One point has to do with bedtime. A tired body is one which is not alert to its own inner needs. You may remember from the cycles of Vata, Pitta and Kapha that the Kapha period is from about 6 to 10 p.m. Remember that the qualities of Kapha are heaviness, slowness, dullness, and so on. This means that there is support from the natural environment at this time to settle down and go to sleep. 10 p.m. is an important junction point between the influence of Kapha and that of Pitta in the environment. While Kapha is heavy, slow and dull, Pitta is light, sharp and hot, heat representing activity. As a result of this switch to Pitta time, you may have noticed that if you stay up to 10:30 or longer, you get a second wind and can easily stay up then till 12:30 or even 2 in the morning, still feeling somewhat fresh. But when you do this, then one of two things must happen. Either you must set an alarm in order to get up on time, and then you will feel tired, or else you will sleep late in the morning. Notice what happens if you sleep late into the morning, say 8 or 9 or even longer. You are rising during the Kapha period, 6 to 10 a.m. Remember the qualities of Kapha? Heavy, slow and dull. That is exactly how you will feel if you arise at that time. In addition, some of this excess quality of Kapha, which should not have been there, will stay with you and make your job of losing weight even more difficult. Studies have shown, for example, that people who arise late in the morning feel less energetic and have a higher incidence of depression. If you go to bed early, by about 10 p.m., then naturally you will arise earlier in the morning. The closer you can come to arising before the end of the Vata time, that is around 6 in the morning, the better. If you arise before the influence of Vata is completely gone from the environment, then you will feel the qualities of Vata, which you may remember are light, energetic, and quick. This is how you'll feel all day as a result of this simple switch in your routine. One other very valuable addition to make to your daily routine involves special types of massage. In your written materials, you will find 2 types of massage listed with detailed directions for each. The first massage, which is described as Garshan, and it is a dry massage. Ayurveda recommends it specifically as part of a weight loss program since it stimulates circulation and helps the body to eliminate impurities. Experience has also shown that this massage helps to eliminate cellulite. The second type of massage, which is described, is an oil massage using sesame oil. Ayurveda describes this as part of the daily routine for everyone because it rejuvenates and revitalizes the physiology. It produces a youthful influence for the skin and helps to balance all 3 doshas. In addition, as you lose weight, these special massages will help to keep the skin tone firm and prevent wrinkles and sagging skin. Try to incorporate both massages into your routine before your morning bath each day. They take only a few minutes each, and you will feel fresher and more vital all day. If you can't find the time each day, try to do them at least 3 days a week. If you prefer, you can do the dry massage only. Having learned about the Ayurvedic principles of balance, in the next lesson, we will learn how to use the power of your own digestion to help you lose weight.
This is the end of Lesson 3. Please review all the recommendations so far before continuing with Lesson 4. Lesson 4. Making Hunger Your Friend. In this lesson, you will learn that proper appetite is your friend instead of your enemy. Dr. Chopra will explain how to use hunger and digestion to help you convert food into energy and strength for the body instead of into wasteful fat. You will also learn 10 powerful techniques called body intelligence techniques for strengthening your digestion and helping you lose weight.
In this lesson, we will expand our knowledge of Ayurvedic physiology even further. We will learn how to make hunger our friend rather than our enemy, and how to digest our food so that we automatically produce lean bodies instead of excess fat. In the first lesson of this course, we learned that the body is not like a frozen statue fixed in space and time, that every moment we are constantly regenerating the intelligence of the body and actually rebuilding every cell and sinew of our physiology. But how is this actually happening on a material level? It is happening through our digestion. Why do we eat? We eat so that we can extract the intelligence from the environment as it is supplied through food and metabolize that intelligence so it may be utilized in our bodies. Each time we eat, we are processing the food through a wonderfully sophisticated and intricate series of biochemical events which transforms that food into the substance of our body. That old saying, "You are what you eat," actually has a real significance. We will deal with which foods are best for us to eat in a subsequent lesson. But in this lesson, we will be more concerned with what happens after we eat the food than we are with the food itself. What we want to understand now is about appetite and digestion. Over the years, I have learned that if you ask an overweight patient, "How is your appetite?" you nearly always get the same response. First, the patient gives a little chuckle. Then they say, "Too good." This statement shows the almost universal belief of overweight people that appetite and hunger is their enemy. Through the years, through innumerable diets and fads, these people have struggled against what they thought was their archenemy, their hunger. They have fought it through pills, diets, fiber, and any other way they could think of. But the truth is that hunger and appetite is your friend, not your enemy. Where does hunger come from? Ayurveda explains that hunger comes from the digestive fires which are called Agnis in Ayurveda. Agni literally means fire. The whole process of digestion is described in Ayurveda as being related to heat and metabolism, as if the food is actually being burnt in order to be further processed. Actually, if you compare the Ayurvedic description to what is known in modern biochemistry and physiology, the two are very consistent. When you are hungry, then the fires, Agni, are more lit. This means they are actually prepared to digest and assimilate the food which is going to be taken. It is our Agni, or our digestive capacity, that allows us to properly assimilate the food which we eat and convert it into energy rather than into fat and toxins. When we fight against appetite, we are simply fighting against nature. It is not only a useless fight, but one which we could never hope to win. According to Ayurveda, imperfections in digestion are universal in people with chronic weight problems. Ayurveda actually describes a product of improper digestion, which is called ama. Ama is a white sticky substance which clogs all of the normal channels of flow in the physiology. These channels are for not only the flow of blood and lymph, but also of normal energy. Because it blocks the normal channels of circulation in our physiology, ama is an extremely common precursor of a wide variety of diseases and causes the symptoms which are so common to overweight people, such as lethargy, dullness, erratic eating habits, compulsive eating, impairment of hunger sensations, and obesity itself. Ama is as much an abstract principle as it is a material substance. That's why these symptoms are so common in people who are overweight. Can you see ama? Yes. How many times have you noticed a white coating on your tongue, especially in the morning, just after you awakened? This is ama. And if it is present on your tongue, it is present throughout your physiology. As long as ama is present, it is extremely difficult, perhaps even impossible, to lose weight. This is why so many individuals have had the experience of limiting their diet to the point of practical starvation and still not be successful in losing weight. So it is essential to take practical steps for the elimination of ama in order to have a successful weight loss program which also allows you to keep the weight off on a permanent basis. Since ama is a key in the pathogenesis of obesity, it is important to remove the ama in order to allow the physiology to return to its normal metabolic functioning. Even if you manage to lose weight, if you don't remove the root cause of obesity, then you will have the strong tendency to regain the weight which you have fought so hard to lose. By eating properly and following the proper routines, a different product of digestion can be formed called ojas. Ojas is as much a biochemical substance as it is an abstract principle. Ayurveda describes ojas as being the biochemical equivalent of bliss. Ojas is the opposite of ama. By taking steps to eliminate ama, automatically we will produce more ojas. Likewise, by taking steps to enhance ojas, we will produce less ama. For that reason, it is useful to know the symptoms of ama and ojas. After eating a particular meal or following particular routines, if we feel the symptoms relating to ama, then we know that something has been wrong in the food or that routine. On the other hand, if we feel the symptoms of ojas following a particular routine, we know that the physiology is being nourished and balanced by that action. So let's go over the symptoms of each. Symptoms of ama. We will feel this after eating and in general in the physiology if things aren't going well. Weakness, heaviness, lethargy, poor immunity, irregular elimination, easy fatigability, fluctuations in appetite, energy levels, and happiness. One commonly sees a white coating on the tongue, especially in the morning on arising. Let's go over the symptoms of ojas, when things are going well. Lightness of body, excellent energy, strong appetite and digestion, perfect immunity, regular elimination, physical strength and stamina, and happiness and bliss. But the most important symptom of ojas is light-heartedness, buoyancy, energy, and a feeling of intense well-being. In a following lesson, we will learn more about nutrition and which foods will produce ojas and which will produce ama by their nature. In this lesson, we want to learn some extremely important techniques which we can use to eliminate ama from the system by strengthening our digestion and then maintaining that strength for the rest of our life. For this, Ayurveda offers what we call body intelligence techniques, or BITS. These are simple techniques that will help you enliven the body's own inner intelligence, strengthen your digestion, and make your digestion a process which will digest food into energy, intelligence, and bliss, rather than storing it into fat and impurities. Some of these bits will require some changes in your current habits, but the effects will be immediate and apparent to you as you make these changes towards a more natural way of eating and digesting. 1. Eat in a settled and quiet atmosphere. Don't divide the attention by working, reading, listening to the radio, or watching television during mealtimes. When we eat, our attention should be on the food, so that we can savor all of the delightful flavors and enjoy our food much more. 2. Always sit down to eat. Even if you're going to have a snack consisting of a few grapes or raisins, take the time to go to the table and sit down. This will help to preserve your digestion, and also it will help you to be always aware of the food you are eating and the hunger level you're at when you're eating. 3. Don't eat when you're upset. If you're upset, disturbed, or angry at mealtime, this will definitely disturb the digestion and produce ama. It will be best to postpone the meal a few minutes until you feel more settled. 4. Eat only up to the point of comfort. Remember number 6 on your satisfaction meter. Ayurveda says we should eat up to about 3/4 of our capacity. Eating beyond this level is like having a fire which you are in the process of kindling, and just when you're getting the fire going, loading it down with too much fuel. Obviously, the fire can be smothered. A smothered fire produces ama. 5. Avoid iced cold foods and drinks. Cold foods and drinks tend to freeze the digestive fires and allow the food to be converted into ama. This is especially true of iced cold foods and drinks. In addition, because vata and kapha are both cold by their nature, these two doshas will both be disturbed by cold foods and drinks. Vata and kapha are the two doshas which are most needed to be brought back into balance in obesity. Many people find that it takes time to become accustomed to not having iced cold drinks. In general, people report that within a few weeks they no longer miss the cold drinks and feel much better without them. 6. Don't talk while chewing your food. While chewing and swallowing, your senses should be going inward, enjoying the taste, sight, aroma of food. For this reason, always make it a rule not to speak while you still have food in your mouth. Regarding conversations at the dinner table, they should be settled and light in their nature, not emotional or disruptive. 7. Eat at a moderate pace. One simple procedure to help regulate your speed: don't place the next bite of food on your fork or spoon until the previous bite has been chewed and swallowed. 8. Don't eat until the previous meal has been completely digested. Continuing snacking while we are still digesting the previous meal will produce ama. Digestion of the meal usually takes about 3 to 6 hours to complete. If you feel that you must have a snack, make it something light, like a piece of fruit or some fruit juice. 9. Favor meals with freshly cooked foods. Most people have gotten the idea that eating more raw foods will help them lose weight. While a certain quantity of raw foods in the diet are fine, in general, cooked foods are easier to digest and less likely to produce ama than raw foods. So most of your meals should be cooked, soothing, balanced, and delicious in their nature. Also, the food should be freshly cooked. Leftovers are described as having a heavier quality, which makes them more difficult to digest and more likely to produce ama. And finally, 10, sit quietly for a few minutes after your meal. This allows digestion to begin effortlessly. Some of you may find that making these changes requires a little bit of effort in the beginning. This is because we may have formed certain lifelong habits which haven't been beneficial for our health, such as watching television while we are eating, or listening to the radio, or reading a magazine. Just remember that it is also these same habits which are making us less conscious of our eating and producing AMA in our physiology, and making it very difficult for us to lose weight. If some of these bits seem difficult for you to incorporate immediately, I suggest what you do is begin by immediately incorporating all of the bits which appear to be simple to you. In your workbook are some checklists which you should fill out each day as a way of helping you incorporate the bits into your routine. Then each week add one additional bit of those that you consider to be more difficult until you have added all of them. In this way, you will be attempting only to make one change at a time. Any one of the bits taken alone will not be difficult for you to manage, and you will definitely experience the progress that you're making. Now, even though we went over each of these body intelligence techniques one by one, and some of this may appear to be a bit of an effort to you, what we are really doing by incorporating these bits into our routine is bringing the act of eating into our conscious awareness. And when we do that, then we bring life-centered, present moment awareness into our presence. Doing that, in fact, increases the enjoyment not only from food, but from anything in life. The reason we eat food, one of the reasons we eat food, is we enjoy it. And when it is part of our conscious awareness, without judgment, without analysis, without evaluation, just part of our life-centered awareness, present moment awareness, then we enjoy it much more. Even though in the beginning this may be a bit of an effort, as you begin to practice these techniques, you will find that you will begin to enjoy food much more. Moreover, your satiety threshold, that is the level at which you feel satisfied, will be altered. So you'll get a lot more out of food. So in this lesson, we have learned some powerful ways to strengthen our digestion in order that food is converted into the tissues of the physiology rather than into wasteful fat. In our next lesson, we will learn more about specifics about diet and which food will actually help us to eliminate fat from the system.
This is the end of Lesson 4. Please review all the recommendations so far before continuing with Lesson 5. Lesson 5. How to transform your metabolism through food. In this lesson, you will learn more about the Ayurvedic approach to nutrition and why strict dieting can actually cause you to gain weight instead of lose it. And you'll actually learn to forget forever about counting calories. Instead, you'll discover which foods can transform your metabolism and cause you to produce energy and vitality instead of fat. You'll also learn a series of practical techniques to help you eliminate impurities from the physiology and make your job of losing weight much more effortless.
When we consider the area of proper nutrition and diet, immediately we realize that we are receiving a broad range of conflicting and confusing information. Sometimes it may seem that no matter what we do, it will threaten our health. For example, for a long time, the American population was educated to feel that polyunsaturated fats would save our lives and produce longevity. Now that relationship is not so clear. In fact, it is suggested that certain types of cancer are actually increased by polyunsaturates. Or consider how much of the American population has been converted to eating margarine in order to help their cholesterol levels. But a study in the New England Journal of Medicine in the summer of 1990 suggests that margarine not only increases cholesterol overall, but actually reduces HDL, the so-called good cholesterol. Just a few years ago, when I went to a meeting of the American Society of Internal Medicine, I was the only vegetarian in that meeting, and other doctors were sneering at me. They couldn't understand how I could survive without all that protein that was absolutely necessary in meat-containing diets. And even though recently it's been found that a high-fiber vegetarian diet is one of the most effective things for weight loss, most people don't recommend it. Most authorities don't recommend it because they feel that Americans would never go for that kind of diet. So this is all part of the controversy that we are constantly bombarded with. There are hundreds of examples of things which we thought were good for us and then turn out to be damaging. In the area of weight loss, there is as much or more confusion than any other area. Some would have us believe that the answer lies in little packages of high-protein beverages. Others tell us the answer lies in the latest diet book. Should we eat more carbohydrates or less? Wherever you look, you find conflicting information. Why is there so much confusion anyway? Perhaps the main distinction between the modern nutritional understanding of diet and that of Ayurveda is that modern nutrition understands food only in terms of its material qualities. Consider the broad range of terminology that is familiar to all of us today: protein, carbohydrates, fats, minerals, cholesterol, vitamins, calories, etc. Each of these terms describes a particular material quality of the food. For example, consider calories, perhaps the worst enemy of all dieters. What are calories? The caloric content of the food is nothing more than saying how much energy that food can produce when it is burned or metabolized by the physiology. Without any calories in our diet, we could not survive. When we eat a low-calorie diet, the body tries to compensate by burning calories from available tissues such as muscles. It is for this reason that when we lose weight through starvation diets, we lose muscle mass. When we inevitably regain that weight, we regain it in terms of fat. It is perhaps this reason the so-called pattern of yo-yo dieting showed such a significant increase of heart disease even as compared to other individuals with obesity. Fats are considered as our enemy when we are trying to lose weight. The reason why fats are considered our enemy is that they have more calories per gram as compared to carbohydrates or proteins. For example, 1 gram of fat produces 9 calories of energy as compared to 4 calories from protein or carbohydrates. However, when we really understand dietetics from the point of view of Ayurveda, we'll realize that certain types of fats are actually essential for health and survival. So what is the proper way of understanding food and nutrition? Ayurveda adds the element of interpreting the influence of food in terms of its intelligence value. That means that Ayurveda not only recognizes the material value of the food, which we have been speaking about until now, but also explains that a more basic level of influence exists from every food. This influence is on the level of the connection between mind and body, which we call intelligence. Influencing the physiology from this level is like seeing a tree and recognizing all of its different structural elements, like branches, leaves, fruits, etc., and seeing that the more basic way to influence the tree is not through trying to treat each leaf or branch or fruit one by one on the material level, but through a basic level, the level of the sap, that level which carries nature's intelligence to each and every diverse aspect of that tree. We have already learned the terminology of intelligence that we need to know to understand this influence. Every food will influence the physiology in terms of the doshas which govern the flow of nature's intelligence in the physiology. By taking our attention to this basic level of intelligence, Ayurveda simplifies the approach to weight loss and reveals that the problem of obesity is not just a problem of analyzing caloric intake versus the expenditure of calories through exercise and normal activities, but it is also a consideration of how well that food is being processed in our physiology and what are the metabolic determinants of how much of it is stored into fat rather than being provided into utilizable energy. Much of this information is being communicated to our physiologies through this basic structure of intelligence, which Ayurveda refers to as the doshas. If we can eat in a way that produces energy for us rather than fat and armor, then calories no longer become an important element in our consideration. You'll notice that we are never again going to deal with calories during this course. We are going to deal with a more basic level of knowledge which has given rise to calories as well as all the other descriptions of food. In this particular lesson, you will understand more about which foods and habits will help us accomplish proper metabolism of those foods. You'll remember from previous lessons that the dosha which governs the structure and maintains the stability of the physiology is kapha. People who are overweight almost always have an imbalance of kapha, perhaps along with imbalances in the other doshas also. The precise nutritional knowledge of Ayurveda analyzes every substance, including every food, in terms of its influence on vata, pitta, and kapha. Certain foods are known to reduce kapha in the physiology. Eating these foods actually helps to transform your fat metabolism so that the food will tend to produce energy instead of fat when it is eaten. For this reason, including these foods as part of your diet will help you to gain your ideal weight without having to count calories or go on an uncomfortable diet. In your workbook, you will find a list of foods labeled foods that help to reduce kapha. You should review and become familiar with this list, but you should also understand that it is not a diet list that you need to follow rigorously. There is no restricted diet as part of this course, only the principles of how to live more in accord with nature. By following this course, you will actually develop the skill of knowing on a moment-to-moment basis what your body needs in order to create ideal digestion, proper metabolism, and balance. So try to include these foods in your diet as much as possible on a regular basis. Because they help to produce balance, you'll find that you enjoy eating them. Ayurveda has a wealth of information about nutrition, which will help anyone to structure a more healthy diet. During the rest of this lesson, I would like to describe for you a selection of important points which will be most helpful for recreating balance in the person who has become overweight. I'd like to begin with two extremely important additions to your weight loss program. 1. Liquefied diet. The next recommendation is to take once a week a diet which has been completely liquefied. This will not only have the effect of eating lightly for that day, but it will directly eliminate ama and strengthen digestion. This is a very powerful addition to your dietary regimen. You should continue this weekly regimen until you have lost all of the weight which is appropriate for you. Remember, this is not a fast, and it is also not necessary to buy liquefied protein solutions which are balanced in terms of their chemical components, but not in terms of the intelligence inherent in the food. You may include in this liquefied diet anything you like as long as it is liquefied first. Because, however, this is a program for purification, to eliminate ama, it is best to use foods that are fresh and wholesome. For example, it's best not to try to liquefy lasagna or pizza or meat. Common foods to include during this weekly liquefied diet are soups, herbal teas, fresh fruit or vegetable juices, warm milk, grains blended with water. However, you are not limited to these items. You may take any item you like, add some warm liquid to it, and blend it in your blender. By liquefying the food first, the food is made very easily digestible, and this is in addition to your ama-reducing routine. You may take liquefied food or liquids as often as you like during the day. Some people will find that they feel absolutely energetic and comfortable just taking fresh fruit juices all day. Others will find they need more substance in the diet, liquefying grains and vegetables. Follow the routine according to your level of comfort. By following this routine properly, you shouldn't feel any discomfort during the day, but actually feel more energetic and light while doing it. If you are in the habit of performing vigorous exercise such as jogging, you might want to moderate that activity on this particular day that you follow the liquefied diet plan. The second technique is a very special technique for eliminating ama from the system. It sounds very simple, but you're going to find that it is one of the most powerful parts of your Ayurvedic weight loss program. Put simply, it is sip hot water frequently during the day. We mentioned that ama is sticky. When you wash dishes, which are greasy or sticky, it is hot water that you use. We will use hot water in the same way to dissolve ama gradually from the system. There is, however, a specific routine which you must follow to produce this effect. First of all, the water should be very hot, ideally so hot that you have to blow on it before you sip it. If you have trouble with hot drinks, don't worry, you'll become accustomed to taking hot water within a few days. Secondly, I'm not so concerned with how much hot water you take as how frequently you take it. In order to have the ideal effect, the water should be sipped very frequently, ideally about every 30 minutes. If this seems too frequent for you, then at least once an hour, take 1 or 2 sips of hot water. You can have much more of it if you like, but at least take 1 or 2 sips every 30 to 60 minutes. Just go according to your thirst. You may also have other liquids during the day, but always take your hot water. It is not necessary to take it exactly every 30 minutes, but definitely take it very frequently during the day. 3 or 4 times won't be enough. The easiest way for most people to do this is to buy a good quality thermos, fill it in the morning with boiling hot water, and the water will remain hot for about 8 to 10 hours afterwards. After a few days, you will feel so soothed and balanced from the hot water that you will begin to remember it automatically. You will even begin to look forward to it on a frequent basis. You may find that for the first few weeks you begin to urinate more frequently. It may seem like it's even more than the amount you have increased your fluid intake. This is because the body is beginning to flush itself out to remove toxins and impurities from the system. This is a sign that something powerful is happening. After a few weeks, the urine will return to normal, but the ama will continue to be dissolved from the system. There are a number of other simple suggestions which can be made here, which can help to transform your physiology from a physiology which stores fat every time it eats to a physiology which produces energy, vitality, and ojas. 1. Meat in general increases kapha and is more likely to produce ama than other foods. Favor chicken and fish over red meats and try to have several days a week which are completely meat-free. 2. Include plenty of freshly cooked vegetables and grains as part of your diet. While you may not have been using many vegetables or grains in your diet up until now, try experimenting with recipes that use more freshly cooked vegetables and grains. You may want to try some new cookbooks and vary your spicing to prepare delicious foods that include these important parts of nutrition. Be sure to try to include those vegetables and grains which are on your list of foods that reduce kapha. Remember, the fresher the food, the more ojas it contains. Fresh fruits and vegetables are better than frozen, and frozen is better than canned. 3. Kapha is a slow dosha to be affected by food, But over time, kapha will become balanced through proper eating. Favor warm, light foods. Given a choice, pick hot food over cold at every meal. A hot luncheon entree instead of a sandwich. Hot apple pie instead of ice cream. Grilled fish instead of tuna salad. 4. Ginger is a spice which is particularly good for reducing kapha and helping to stimulate digestion and eliminate ama. Try using fresh or powdered ginger as part of your cooking. Special preparations of ginger can be used at the beginning of the meal to strengthen digestion so that the food is assimilated more properly. In your workbook, you will find the recipes for these preparations. Spices in general will help to make the food more digestible and produce less ama. Other useful spices include cumin, turmeric, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, mustard seeds, and black pepper. As these spices reduce kapha, they increase the metabolic rate and help to convert food into energy instead of fat. 5. Cutting back on sweets is difficult for many kaphas, but you may find that a 1-week trial on a low-sugar or preferably no-sugar diet will result in your feeling much lighter and more energetic. This will also help to deal with compulsive cravings for sweets. In a later lesson, you will learn that the sweet taste pertains not only to sugar, but to many other foods such as breads and pastas. This taste is an essential part of everyone's diet, but should be taken with some moderation for those wanting to lose weight. Honey is the one sweet which actually has the property of reducing kapha. So try substituting honey as a sweetener as part of your diet. But you should note that Ayurveda says never to cook with or heat honey. This will produce ama. 6. Deep-fried foods of any kind will aggravate kapha. Therefore, it is better to take less of these things in your diet. It is not necessary, however, to eliminate all fats. Almond, corn, safflower, and sunflower oil can all be taken as part of the diet. Olive oil is also a good oil to use. 7. Restaurant food has to be carefully chosen by kapha people. In general, it is hard to lose weight by eating in restaurants. The food is far too oily, salty, and sweet, the three tastes which increase kapha. If you're eating out in better restaurants, Oriental cooking is the lightest, particularly if you concentrate more on vegetables than meat. 8. Generally speaking, Ayurveda prefers all food cooked since it's easier to digest and assimilate. However, a small amount of raw vegetables and salads are fine to include in your diet as they will tone the digestive canal. Just take them according to your desire and taste. Fruits are fine to take raw, of course. 9. Many dieters include carbonated beverages as a standard part of their daily fare. For many people, these soft drinks, especially the low-calorie ones, make up a significant part of their daily diet program. However, the carbonation actually is disturbing to the digestive process. It produces ama and distorts our natural sensations of hunger, giving rise to irregular and false signals. As much as possible, it will be best to reduce or eliminate carbonated beverages from your diet. At first you may miss them, but within a few weeks you'll find that you'll feel much better without them. Try substituting water or fresh juices instead. 10. As much as possible, try to avoid packaged foods. Meals prepared from freshly cooked foods will be lively in nature's intelligence. Packaged foods are old and in general lifeless. In Ayurveda we say without prana. Of course, you don't have to be fanatic about this. Packaged breads and crackers and foods like this are fine to continue with, but definitely avoid entire meals which are packaged or frozen. You may have noticed that nature herself packages foods, and each package contains a different quality of nature's intelligence. Consider the yellow packaging of the banana or the orange packaging of an orange, and how you find the delicious and unique qualities of nature's intelligence contained inside. This is the best packaged food to include as part of your diet. 11. Try to avoid strong stimulants such as caffeine and alcohol. Take these as infrequently as possible. Most people take these stimulants as an attempt to compensate for fatigue and imbalance, which is already in existence in their physiology. Unfortunately, stimulants produce no beneficial effect, and in the long run they produce imbalance of their own and form a vicious cycle of more fatigue and imbalance. 12. In many people, the satiety threshold, which is the level at which you feel satisfied from food, can be altered if you take the sweet taste first. So if you start your meal, for example, with your dessert first, take the hot apple pie first, or the cookie first, and then follow with the rest of the meal. You may find that this little trick by itself will alter the level at which you will feel satisfied from food. It is important, of course, to realize that if we've taken dessert to begin our meal, then we don't take it at the end again. Obviously, for many of you, these points represent a significant change from many of the habits that you have lived with up until now. You may be thinking at this point that there are too many changes which are required of you. What you should realize, however, is that the principles that are being given to you are simply the natural principles which you should have been following all along. Not only will these principles bring about weight loss, but they will also bring about all the qualities of health that ojas implies: feeling light in your body, having excellent energy, improved appetite, improved digestion, improved resistance to disease, better physical strength and stamina, and perhaps most important of all, that feeling of buoyancy and happiness. While some effort may be involved in making these changes in the beginning from the habits that led to your weight problem, once you begin to experience the benefits of this program, it will be absolutely effortless to continue. In fact, you won't be able to resist it. But if you find it is a strain to incorporate too many things at once, select those that seem to be most relevant to your life and to your situation at the present time, and therefore most easily applicable for you. Later, based upon your success, you can review the course again and see what else you would like to add from those points which you left out in the beginning.
This is the end of Lesson 5. Please review all of the recommendations so far before continuing with Lesson 6. Lesson 6. Exercise without strain. In this lesson, you will learn why much of the exercise advice given today falls very short of ideal. You'll discover a new way to exercise that doesn't strain your physiology. You will learn how to give your quantum mechanical body a new set of signals through exercise. And you'll find out how to choose the right exercise for your individual physiology. You'll also learn specific neuromuscular and neurorespiratory exercises which help balance all three doshas and assist you in your job of losing weight.
From an Ayurvedic standpoint, much of the exercise recommended today falls very short of ideal. What is the purpose of exercise? Charak, one of the first Ayurvedic physicians, says the following: by physical exercise, one gets lightness, capacity to work, firmness, tolerance of difficulties, diminution of physical impurities, and strengthening of digestion and metabolism. Charak goes on to say that exercise is suitable for everyone, but that over-exercise can be as damaging as under-exercise. The proper amount of exercise and type of exercise should be suited to the individual. This is a great insight coming to us from thousands of years ago. Today it's becoming known very clearly in the field of exercise physiology that just because something is good for you doesn't mean that more of it is better. In fact, over-conditioning can be as harmful as under-conditioning. Statistics show that if you're over-conditioned, athletically even, that you may have a higher incidence of hypertension, arthritis, cardiomyopathy. There are some countries in Eastern Europe where they have begun deconditioning programs for their Olympic athletes because these Olympic athletes are not as healthy as normal controls in the population. We know from observations in this country that in general, professional athletes do not live as long as normal people in an average population. In fact, the average life expectancy of a professional NFL player is something in the late 50s, whereas the normal average life expectancy of a male in this country approaches about 80 years. In 1991, 1992, this is the expected life expectancy. So something is wrong when we make an obsession of anything, even though it may be something that we consider very healthy. Exercise. The exercise craze may have gone too far and become a fad. Let's look at the scientific principles of how exercise really helps us. And the first principle of exercise, according to Ayurveda, is that exercise should produce energy and strength and vitality, not use it up. Whatever exercise program we're doing, we should feel lively and strong and energetic during the exercise and afterwards. If we feel exhausted and strained at any point, then something is wrong with that particular program of exercise. And the three most common mistakes people make in relationship to exercise are, number one, too little exercise or none at all. Number two, performing exercises which don't suit them. And three, over-exercising. What effect will exercise have on weight loss? Conventionally, this type of question has been answered in terms of calories. The basic equation that is generally used is to consider how many calories you are consuming in your diet and compare this to how many calories you burn up through exercise and normal routines. Many people feel that the entire field of weight loss is reduced to this type of equation. But programs that follow these statistics have proven to be unsuccessful in producing weight loss which is maintained over a long period. In addition, this type of analysis does not explain a commonly observed phenomenon that certain overweight people who follow extremely restricted caloric diets still fail to lose significant weight. The reason for this phenomenon is that certain homeostatic mechanisms, these self-referral feedback thermostats that we're talking about, they begin to reset themselves as if they are trying to protect the physiology against starvation. The inner intelligence of the body assumes a famine is coming on. So the inner intelligence of the body resets the thermostat and says, if I'm not going to get that much food, then let me cut down my metabolism. So what happens is that the less you eat, the slower your metabolism gets and the more you gain weight, and becomes a vicious cycle. You're eating less, but you're still gaining weight. People who've been overweight many years have generally tried various diets, losing and gaining each time. Over time, it becomes more and more difficult to lose weight because these natural defense mechanisms of the body reset the thermostat of the body to prevent against future starvation. The result is that the body wants to store energy for future use and does so by storing it in the form of fat, which is a much more concentrated way of storing energy. Often we lose weight when we lose muscle tissue, but we regain it as fat. This is why the chronic cycle of dieting in a lifelong sporadic fashion ends up to be so detrimental to our health. We lose important muscle tissue and gain more and more fat in a vicious cycle which is difficult to break. When we begin to exercise, we begin to give our body a new quantum mechanical signal that we are going to be active, energetic, vital people. We are telling our body that from now on we are going to begin to utilize available energy sources through our physical activity. The body will respond by beginning to burn fat. by combining physical activity with appropriate nutritional principles, which also signal our bodies at the quantum mechanical level, we begin to reset our thermostats to a level where fat is more easily burned and food is converted into life-giving energy. In Ayurvedic terminology, we are communicating to our doshas. Exercise, which is movement in its nature, has the property of reducing kapha. It is important to do exercise properly so that in reducing kapha, we do not increase or disturb vata. Proper exercise, especially that which we refer to as neuromuscular integration, actually balances all three doshas at once. Many people experience that regular exercise can be transforming in terms of how they feel as well as how they look and how much they weigh. So let's go over some specific guidelines that we can give for exercise. 1. In general, utilize about 50% of your capacity. In other words, if you could swim 20 laps, swim only 10. If you could bicycle 20 miles, bicycle 10. Why? Because our capacity represents the total amount of energy available at that time from our physiology. Our total capacity is that point when we are completely tired and must stop. We cannot go any further. But what we want is not to spend all of our energy, but to produce further energy. So for this reason, we never go to our full capacity. We stop at about 50%. At this point, we should still feel energetic and comfortable, never strained or tired. 2. What about conditioning? This principle of utilizing 50% of your capacity does not in any way disallow physical conditioning. As time goes on with regular exercise, your capacity will grow so that 50% of that capacity will also be increasing. 3. The next most important point is that Ayurveda recommends regular daily exercise, preferably 7 days a week. The reason many aerobic programs recommend 3 or 4 days of exercise per week is that they are structured around utilizing up all of the energy available to the physiology, therefore creating strain on the physiology and then trying to recuperate so that we can begin again. The Ayurvedic principle is not no pain, no gain, but no strain produces maximum gain. 4. A good indication during exercise of where you are standing in terms of intensity and length of exercise is your breathing and the amount of perspiration. In general, excessively heavy breathing and heavy perspiration means that you are straining your physiology at that time. Perhaps with more conditioning, that level of exercise may suit you, but for now, begin to cut back and gradually increase. 5. The best time of day to exercise is during the kapha periods, 6 to 10 in the morning or 6 to 10 at night. This is because the structure of your physiology is stronger and more tolerant of exercise at that time. The best exercise for weight loss is an exercise which involves continuous motion rather than starting and stopping. Although tennis and golf are great for relaxation, they should not be included as part of your daily regular exercise. 6. Dosha-specific exercise. Different physiologies respond differently to exercise. Kapha types require the most exercise of the three. Vata types require the least, and Pitta is somewhere in the middle. If you're a 2-dosha type, consider what your physical structure is. If you're large, muscular, athletic, and Kapha is one of your doshas, then put yourself in the Kapha category for the purpose of exercise. If your muscular and physical development is less, put yourself more in the Vata category, which requires light exercise. Those in between should consider themselves in the Pitta category. So let's go over some exercises suited to the 3 different body types. For Vata body types, yoga, dance aerobics, walking, short hikes, light bicycling are the most suitable. Vata types should be careful. If they over-exercise, they can throw their Vata out of balance. Exercises suited to Pitta types include more vigorous exercises like skiing, walking or running, hiking, mountain climbing, swimming. Exercises suited to kapha body types also include running, walking, weight training, aerobics, rowing, and dance. These are just some examples of appropriate exercise for each body type, but you shouldn't feel restricted to those that are in this list. One criterion of whether the exercise is suitable for you is that you enjoy it. You shouldn't be forcing yourself to do something which is continually unpleasant. This is a very important point. People who do not enjoy exercise, even when they exercise, they release stress hormones. A lot of cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, which may have a detrimental effect on the immune system and other parts of the body. In fact, we've all heard of stories where people were jogging and then suddenly had chest pain and something very bad happened. They had a heart attack and even died from it. This frequently happens, or does happen, according to Ayurvedic principles it happens, because the physiology of anything that you do, exercise or any other activity, depends not just on what's happening in the body, but happening in that continuum, the mind-body continuum that we've talked about. If you hate to do exercise and you're doing exercise, then you're going to really hurt yourself. On the other hand, if you enjoy exercise, then the physiology reflects that state of mind. And the biochemistry and the hormonal profile of a person who's enjoying his exercise is completely different. So, in fact, if you hate exercise of any kind, then don't do it. It will be harmful to you. If you want to do any type of exercise, then choose that exercise or that activity that you enjoy, even if it's something like a game of tennis or going out and playing with the children or just flying a kite and running around the park. These are things that may help you much more than a vigorous exercise program that you don't enjoy at all. You shouldn't be forcing yourself to do something which is continually unpleasant. However, if it is the case that you do not enjoy exercise of any kind, you don't like activity of any kind, then it may be because you have a kapha imbalance. And as you regulate your kapha and bring it back into balance, then you'll realize that in fact every physiology enjoys some amount of exercise. And that excessive kapha was the factor that was making you feel dull and lethargic. So in the beginning, it's okay to increase one's activity gradually, follow all the other recommendations that we've been giving you about balancing kapha, and then to begin to increase the amount of activity because you'll notice that you're beginning to enjoy it. So it will be necessary then to begin on a regular program for several weeks before you can decide which exercise you enjoy the most. One exercise which suits all three doshas and is ideal as part of our weight loss program is walking. In general, all body types like walking. The intensity and speed of walking may depend more upon the body type. The kapha may go more for running or aerobic type of walking, while the vata body type may want to have more of a continuous stroll. An ideal addition to your daily routine would be 30 minutes of walking in the morning and again in the evening. If your schedule doesn't allow this, then just try to do 30 minutes of brisk walking in the morning. Within a few days, you will begin to see the transformation. Ayurveda also contains exercises which come from the yoga tradition, in which are neuromuscular and neurorespiratory in their origin. This means they act not only on the muscular, cardiovascular, and metabolic systems, but actually help to integrate mind and body together as a unit and help create more perfect health. Instructions for a set of these exercises are included in your written materials, and these would make an excellent addition to your daily exercise program. The neuromuscular and neurorespiratory exercises can be done together in just 15 minutes a day. One suggested routine would be to do 30 minutes of walking in the morning and sometime before your dinner, perform the neuromuscular and neurorespiratory integration exercises. So we see that exercise is another layer of your perfect health program. Although you will begin losing weight even before you get to this exercise part of your program, you will be growing in another way, in the values of perfect health.
This is the end of Lesson 6. Please review all the recommendations so far before continuing with Lesson 7. Lesson 7. Overcoming Food Cravings and Binges. In this lesson, you will learn more about what causes food binges and food cravings and how to start changing these difficult habits. Dr. Chopra will explain how the taste of food actually can affect your metabolism and produce more satisfaction in your diet. You'll learn how to prepare more satisfying and balanced meals, as well as specific techniques for helping to dissolve emotionally based food cravings.
For many people, one of the most difficult things about any weight loss program, no matter how natural and effortless that program may be, is the problem that they have with cravings and also with so-called compulsive eating. These two common problems, which are so difficult for many people to deal with, may arise from many different reasons. Amongst the two most important reasons are improper diet and emotional reasons. Improper diet leads to cravings and improper eating habits because we don't feel satisfied at the end of a meal. Sometimes it seems that no matter how much we eat, we are still looking in the refrigerator after the meal with the feeling of, I'm not really hungry, but I really feel like there's something more that I want. The second most common reason for compulsive eating and cravings comes from old habits which are mostly emotionally related. It is known that eating produces certain endorphins which produce a sense of well-being. Many times people try to solve their emotional cravings through eating. What they end up with is no dissolution of their emotional problems, but now they also have eating problems. In offering solutions to these problems, I want to recognize how difficult these problems are for many people to solve. While I think you will find that Ayurveda has profound and effective solutions to these problems, I think it will take time for these values to grow in your life. This is especially true of the problems which arise in relationship to emotions. The single most important point I can make is to be patient not only with the program, but also with yourself. One of the most damaging things you can do is to criticize yourself or be judgmental on yourself each time you perceive that you've made a mistake or error. According to Ayurveda, each time you go on a binge or overeat, it is because you're seeking out to create more balance, more satisfaction in your body and in your life. Being critical of yourself at this time is not only unnecessary, but is damaging to your self-image and will create further emotional problems. In this program, self-criticism and self-analysis won't be necessary. Just follow the simple instructions and gradually you'll find more and more balance, more and more fulfillment in your life. Let's begin to solve this problem of cravings and compulsive eating by dealing with some physical recommendations which will help create more satisfaction from each meal that you take. Remember, a great deal of the cravings which arise do so simply because the diet is not completely balanced. Ayurveda defines a balanced diet not just in terms of the quantities of protein, carbohydrate, and so on, but also in terms of another element which we have only mentioned in a previous lesson, and that is the element of taste. When your taste buds greet a bite of food, an enormous amount of information is delivered to your doshas. Working with this information, Ayurveda allows us to eat a balanced diet more naturally, guided by our own instincts, without turning nutrition into an intellectual headache. When food talks to your doshas, it says many things, but the primary information is contained in taste. Ayurveda recognizes 6 tastes: You may refer to the written materials that are provided with this program to get in touch with all the details about each of these tastes. These tastes are sweet, sour, salty, bitter. These are the four which we are most familiar with, but there are two others, pungent and astringent. All spicy, hot-tasting food is pungent. Astringent is a taste which has a drying quality and causes puckering in your mouth. Pomegranates and the dry, mealy taste of beans are both examples of the astringent taste. Here are some examples of each of these 6 tastes. Sweet includes sugar, honey, rice, pasta, milk, cream, butter, wheat, bread. Sour includes lemons, cheese, yogurt, plums, and other sour fruits, and also vinegar. Salty, any salty food. Pungent, chili peppers, cayenne, ginger, any hot-tasting spice. Bitter, bitter greens. Endive, chicory, romaine lettuce, tonic water, spinach and leafy greens, turmeric, fenugreek. Astringent includes beans, lentils, pomegranates, apples, pears, and cabbage. The tastes play a very important part of whether we are satisfied after eating. Our tastes are exquisitely sensitive receptors which signal the intelligence of our physiologies. For example, if you make a dilution of sweet taste, your body can perceive it in a dose of 1 to 200ths. Salt has been perceived in a dilution of 1 in 400, sour in a solution of 1 in 130,000, and bitter in a solution of 1 in 2 million. This exquisite sensitivity of taste has been developed by nature to allow food to speak to our doshas, to allow us to perceive directly on the level of taste what nature is trying to tell us about our needs. For example, research has shown that people who overeat have a high taste threshold, which means their sensitivity to taste is less than others who don't overeat. Taste can actually influence your metabolic rate. People have done studies that show that metabolism can be altered by as much as 25% through the use of various spices. All the spices that stimulate kapha have this property. Having a balanced diet in all 6 tastes is extremely helpful in satisfying cravings, even surprisingly those that have an emotional basis, because food has an effect not only on our physiology, but also on our emotional state, on the mind-body continuum. Taste influences the emotions. Consider all of the elements of our language that have the sense of taste built into our language itself. For example, sweet. Sweet is the strongest increaser of kapha dosha. Kapha is that which we associate with the qualities of motherliness, with sweet-naturedness. We use expressions like sweet love and sweet babies and sweet memories. For this reason, sweet foods are often associated with qualities of motherliness, milk and sugar, the foods that mothers tend to give to quiet an upset child. But that same property that sweetness brings, when it's too much, it can get cloying and possessive and greedy and attachment. These are the emotions that come out when there is imbalance of the doshas, and that imbalance aggravated by too much intake of sweet things. Sour. In excess, sour taste produces resentment and envy. In normal amounts, it produces exhilaration. We use expressions like sour grapes when we are resentful. In proper amounts, however, sour foods can refresh and enliven the intellect. Bitter. Bitter quickens the palate without satisfying it. It tones the tissues and produces firmness of the skin. While bitter produces a bracing alertness, excess of bitter produces a lack of satisfaction in life. Grief, which makes life seem completely without satisfaction, is bitter. Like this, each of the 6 tastes is described also in terms of emotional components, because taste has a broad influence, including its influence on our emotions. A few important practical points can be extrapolated from our knowledge of taste. 1. Try to include foods from all 6 tastes in your diet on a regular basis. This will mean some experimenting with different foods and different spices than you may be accustomed to. In every meal, ideally, you should experience all 6 tastes. But if this is impossible, at least in every day, you will find that you feel much more satisfied after a meal that included all the 6 tastes. 2. If you feel that your taste buds are not fully alert and receptive, try swishing about a tablespoon of warmed sesame oil in your mouth. Do this each morning and then rinse it with some warm water. Sesame oil has the quality of enlivening the taste buds and making them more discriminating and sensitive. 3. Of all the tastes, sweet is the one which is craved most often. Perhaps this is because sweet has the most settling effect, because it is the strongest increaser of kapha. If you're craving sweets, you should be sure that your diet is balanced both in terms of including all 6 tastes, but also in seeing that your diet includes a variety of fresh, wholesome, nutritious food served in a delicious and balanced way. One food which Ayurveda recommends specifically to help heal cravings for sweet is milk. Milk itself is sweet and also has an extremely settling quality for the physiology. If you are constantly craving sweets, try taking a cup of warm milk each day, perhaps as part of your breakfast, and see what happens to your cravings for sweet. 4. Another way of helping with cravings, especially those for sweet, is to use honey. Honey is the only sweetener which actually has the property of reducing kapha. Try taking lemon and honey water on a daily basis. This delicious beverage will not only help to satisfy your craving for sweets, but will help to dissolve ama from the system. You may find that this makes an ideal beverage to drink at breakfast. Honey can also be taken plain during the day in limited quantities, perhaps half a teaspoon 3-4 times a day. 5. Herbs are an extremely important part of Ayurveda that we have not yet touched upon. Many thousands of naturally occurring herbs are utilized in Ayurveda and are understood as food supplements. Just as food influences the physiology on the basic level of nature's intelligence, herbs also influence on this level, but can be utilized more precisely to influence a particular aspect of vata, pitta or kapha, or even other elements of our physiology. 2 extremely important elements in Ayurvedic physiology which influence weight are ama, which we have discussed at length, and meda dhatu, which is the tissue of the physiology which is responsible for regulating fat and metabolism. A special combination of Ayurvedic herbs has been prepared especially to accompany this course. Information is available in your written materials. One approach of Ayurveda, which we have not yet discussed, but which is extremely relevant to emotionally based cravings and binges, is meditation. It is not possible to teach you how to meditate on these tapes because you need to learn personally from a trained instructor. Before we conclude this lesson, I want to give you a little technique you can use on a day-to-day basis when you're having difficulty with emotionally based eating. In the long run, balancing the doshas through a proper diet will provide the most permanent solution. But this technique is useful until you have permanently solved that problem. Whenever you feel that you may be eating compulsively, first ask yourself the question, is it food that I'm wanting, or is there an emotional discomfort which I'm trying to satisfy by eating? Remember, eating when you're not hungry for food will never satisfy the emotional need on a lasting basis, but will produce further discomfort through the production of ama and increased fat. When you're feeling unsettled, close your eyes and sit quietly for a few seconds, maybe 20 or 30 seconds. Commonly you will find that associated with the emotional discomfort you're feeling is some sort of physical discomfort somewhere in the body. maybe in the area of your heart, stomach, elsewhere. While keeping your eyes closed, simply allow yourself to experience that physical sensation for a few seconds. Don't try to dissolve it, just experience it. Within a minute or two, the sensation will usually begin to lessen or even dissolve altogether. And when you open your eyes, often you'll find that the discomfort you were having is now lessened to some extent. Now if you find that you are hungry for food, then it's okay. Go ahead and eat. But many times, the urge will spontaneously dissipate. In all the lessons that you've had, and all the techniques that you've learned from Ayurveda, there has been emphasis on only one thing, and that is to amplify and unfold the spontaneous self-referral healing responses that are present in our physiology at all time. As I had mentioned earlier, the perfect response to every situation as it occurs is built into our very system. We need not go anywhere to learn how to get there because it's already there within us. The perfect body, the perfect weight, the lean, athletic, beautiful, perfectly balanced body is already within you at this time. And we don't have to go elsewhere to find that because it's hiding inside us. There's a great poem by T.S. Eliot which says, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." So we're not going anywhere. It's a journey without distance, because deep inside you there is a God in embryo, and it has only one desire. It wants to be born.
This is the end of Lesson 7. Please review all the recommendations so far before continuing with Lesson 8. Lesson 8. Questions and Answers with Dr. Chopra. In this lesson, we have gathered together some of the most commonly asked questions on this weight loss program. I'll begin with the first question. Dr. Chopra, how long will I have to wait to see results from this program?
The results depend on how much overweight you are to begin with. So don't worry about the time period. The journey is the destination. You'll begin to enjoy yourself as you go along in this program because you'll feel lighter and more buoyant and more energetic. And if anything is important, it's self-referral. So we don't try and worry about what's my proper weight, what did the scales tell me. In fact, I wouldn't even recommend bothering to look at the scales. You'll know when you've reached your proper weight, when you feel light, buoyant, and full of energy.
During the program, you mentioned effortlessness many times, but it seems to me that in order to make all of the changes you recommended during the program, that a great deal of effort will be required.
Look at nature and see that the underlying theme is effortless. Where is the effort in a seed that sprouts into a plant and becomes a mighty tree and bears fruit? Where's the effort in the movement of galaxies and the rotation of the earth? In anything in nature, the birds migrate at the right season, the fish go back to their spawning grounds when it's time. Nature functions with effortless ease because in nature, the theme is go with the flow. In fact, if we have a weight problem, it's because we've been using too much effort. We've been going against the flow. As we begin to tune in to those inner signals, to those inner messages, and as I said earlier, there are only two of them, a message of comfort and a message of discomfort. If all the things that we do maximize that message of comfort, then we'll find there's complete effortlessness and we'll have spontaneous right action. It's a letting go more than anything else. You just have to begin the process and then everything is automatic.
What would you say about low-calorie foods?
I think we should forget everything about calories because, as I've mentioned before, going on low-calorie food sometimes can only slow down the metabolism and make it even more difficult to lose weight. So forget all those principles of low-calorie foods or high-calorie foods. Just go by the principles of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Go by the principle of following the inner messages of the body. Go by the principle of effortless ease, and then everything will be spontaneous and your weight will normalize quite spontaneously when the time is due. Your desires are like seeds left into the ground. They wait for the right season and then spontaneously sprout into beautiful flowers and mighty trees. You don't have to be too intellectual about this process. The process is experiential, and all the knowledge we've given you here, while it may be satisfying intellectually, the knowledge is very practical and experiential.
There are so many recommendations made during the course, all of which sound to be very useful in terms of creating balance and helping with weight loss. But I'm not sure whether I can incorporate all of them. Which are the most important recommendations?
As time goes by, you'll find yourself incorporating all those suggestions because you'll feel so good. And you'll feel so good that you won't want to feel any other way. So even if you incorporate a few of these suggestions and start feeling good, then the whole mechanics is such that the whole thing becomes self-reinforcing. You feel good, so you follow some more recommendations. You feel better, so you follow more, and ultimately you're following all of them. In the beginning, I would say the most important things for you are to eat according to your hunger level. So make use of your satisfaction meter. Number 2, always follow the body intelligence techniques. These are extremely useful in helping metabolize food properly. So it's not stored up as excessive fat, but metabolized into life-sustaining energy. Number 3, go on the liquefied diet program once a week. Number 4, the hot water program to remove ama is extremely useful, and we find it extremely effective. Some people, just by following the hot water routine, begin to lose weight very dramatically. Number 5, make lunch as the main meal with no breakfast or light breakfast and light dinner. And number 6, follow the list of kapha-reducing foods.
My problem is with snacking. I snack at almost all times of day and night. Any suggestions to help me with this?
Snacking arises from lack of satisfaction. Review the lesson on creating satisfaction through balanced diet. Snacking is not a good idea because it produces ama. When you take lunch as the main meal and also incorporate all 6 tastes, then those urges, those cravings that lead to snacking will spontaneously dissipate. There's an interesting reason for late night snacking. If you remember that from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the second pitta period of the day, the second pitta period is not really intended to be a period when we take meals. It is a time when the body will use its metabolic processes to purify itself and digest any remaining food in the system. This is why it is not uncommon to wake up hot at night and sweaty during these hours, especially if you've eaten a large dinner. But if you are awake, and you shouldn't be, since you should be in bed by around 10 to 10:30 at the latest, then you will feel the sensation of hunger, especially around midnight. And it will be hard to resist eating then because it will be a natural impulse. However, this natural impulse has only arisen because you're out of accord with the rhythms of nature at that time. So, following the rhythms of nature, balancing your biological rhythms through a good daily routine will also get rid of this problem of snacking. And finally, always constantly be aware of your hunger level. And whenever the urge to snack comes, then put your hand over your stomach, ask yourself, what's my hunger level? Feel the sensation, maybe even close the eyes and feel the sensation. Maybe a sensation that is calling for something else, not for eating food. As you put your attention on the sensation, many times that craving will dissipate and you will no longer need to snack.
I have a problem with eating when I feel emotionally upset. Is there anything further I can do about this?
You know that endorphins are produced from eating, and endorphins pacify some of the more turbulent emotions that we are going through. So sometimes people use eating in order to satisfy emotional needs. However, that's a very temporary measure. What happens is that the emotional need goes unaddressed, and in the wake of that, there's another problem that arises, and that's obesity. So now you not only have the emotional problem, you have another problem, that of obesity. Eating is not a way to satisfy emotional needs. Face the emotional need and address it. See what is that emotional need and how it needs to be addressed. It's certainly not through eating. The two is, remember that an emotion is always a thought linked to a sensation. An emotion has two components, the thought, and then there's a physical sensation in the body that accompanies that thought. And when you put your attention on the physical sensation, then your attention spontaneously goes away from the thought and you disrupt the connection between the two. Many times, you spontaneously become, one might say, a silent witness of the emotion by just feeling the sensation that accompanies the emotion. And at least for the time being, it dissipates. And that will allow you at least a moment of, we might say, silent witnessing before you become a bundle of conditioned reflexes and eat in order to satisfy that need. Give it that gap, that little bit of gap of silent witnessing by just feeling the sensation inside your body. And review the information contained in this course regarding emotional eating and address those problems. Lack of fulfillment in life is not a reason to treat our body as a garbage can.
I'm a little confused about the instruction regarding eating only when I'm at the 0 to 1 level on the satisfaction meter. Could you please clarify this?
Yes, for the first 14 days that you're following this program, you should not eat regardless of what time it is unless you are at a level 0 or 1. Remember that this level is when you cannot feel the presence of any food from a prior meal in your system, and you feel the sensation of hunger. Following this instruction for about 2 weeks will give the body an initial time to become more aware of its inner signals. In addition, ama will be dissolved during this time automatically. This is because if ama is very much in the body will take this opportunity to digest the ama by not offering much appetite during these days. So those people who are very overweight may find not much appetite during the first 2 weeks and rather sporadic eating. However, this will not be an ideal routine to follow on a long-term basis. After some initial opportunity to reset the body's inner intelligence, it will be more ideal to signal the body's biological clocks in terms of taking lunch at a regular time each day. For most people, this will happen quite naturally within about 2 weeks. You will find that you are hungry around lunchtime, especially if you skip breakfast.
I've always had problems with digestion and elimination. Do you have any suggestions for this?
Yes. As far as digestion is concerned, you will improve your digestion just by following the BITS, the body intelligence techniques. These are extremely useful in diverting the attention of your inner intelligence to the process of digestion rather than dissipating it in useless activities at the time that a meal is being usefully digested. So the most important thing to aid digestion is the body intelligence techniques. Frequently, this will help the problem with elimination also.
Several times during the course, meat was referred to as being heavy to digest. Are you suggesting that a vegetarian diet is more ideal?
Well, it's become clear over the last several years of research that vegetarians in general have a lower incidence of cardiovascular disease, a lower incidence of various kinds of malignancies, including breast cancer, a lower incidence of dental caries, a lower incidence of osteoporosis, which is thinning of the bones, So there are many advantages to following a vegetarian diet. For some people, this may be extremely difficult, and therefore following a diet which contains moderate amounts of poultry and fish is also quite all right. The problem is that a lot of our meat that's available in this country now is contaminated with growth hormone, with estrogens, and other substances which are potentially carcinogenic as well. So I do suggest going towards a vegetarian diet, increasing more fresh fruit and fresh vegetables and grains in one's diet, but at the same time not doing it so drastically that it causes a lot of stress, because stress in itself can create imbalance of the doshas, as you know.
Sometimes I feel very strong cravings for certain foods. What should I do at those times?
If you're having a lot of problems with cravings, the first thing you should do, in addition to following the body intelligence techniques, is to see if you're missing out on any one of the 6 tastes. Introduce at least in one meal a day all the 6 tastes. If you're having these cravings on a consistent basis, it can only mean one thing, that you are eating an imbalanced diet, and you should therefore have, or at least start getting, into a diet program that includes all the 6 tastes.
On the body type questionnaire, I appear to be a Vata type, yet I'm almost 90 pounds overweight. How can this be?
Well, any dosha out of balance can ultimately create the problem of obesity. Vata is a good example. When people have Vata imbalance, then frequently they have intense worry, intense anxiety. They try to satisfy that emotion by eating, so they get into the habit of eating in order to dissipate the emotion of anxiety and worry. This ultimately, of course, leads to a kapha imbalance, and a Vata person ends up then having both a Vata and a kapha imbalance. So even though your score was highest in the Vata area, you now probably have both Vata and kapha imbalance.
When I use the satisfaction meter, I can't always locate the area from where hunger is coming. Sometimes it seems to be higher up than the stomach area. Where should the sensation be?
It doesn't matter. Just feel your body, generally in the area of the stomach, the epigastrium, in the lower part of the chest, and there is a distinct sensation of satisfaction or a sensation of discomfort or hunger pains when the stomach is completely empty. This hunger sensation is usually in the area of the stomach, but it may be in a slightly different place for you, and that's fine.
My biggest problem is in trying to take a light dinner. When I come home from the office, I feel very hungry and want to eat something heavy. What should I do?
If you're starving when you come home in the evening, you've probably either skipped lunch or had a very light lunch in a very hurried manner. So take time to have lunch. Enjoy your lunch. Make it the main meal of the day. And then you'll feel that in the evening you won't be that hungry. And don't eat too late in the evening. Eat fairly early in the evening so that you have some activity in the evening after your meal, and that will help digestion and in fact give you a very good sleep also. You should look for the experience of feeling more in control of your body and of your life. And you should look for a sense of increased energy and lightness. Maybe a while before you shed those pounds. But you'll find that even as you begin to follow the principles, you'll be feeling more lively, more energetic, and you'll have a sense of control. This course may help you not only solve your weight problem, but other problems, including emotional ones.
This is the end of Lesson 8 and the end of this course. Please review the recommendations made in this lesson and throughout the course. Start to gradually incorporate them into your daily routine, a few at a time, and start enjoying greater energy and vitality.